The Mahabharata Adi Parva. Section CLXLV. Vaibhahika Parva. Vaisampayana said, thus addressed Drishtadyumna, that foremost of the lunar princes, cheerfully said unto his father all that had happened and by whom Krishna had been won. And the prince said, with large, red eyes, attired in deer skin, and resembling a celestial in beauty, the youth who strung that foremost of bows and brought down to the ground the mark set on high, was soon surrounded by the foremost of Brahmanas who also offered him their homage for the feat he had achieved. Incapable of bearing the sight of a foe and endued with great activity, he began to exert his prowess. And surrounded by the Brahmanas he resembled the thunder-wielding Indra standing in the midst of the celestials, and the rishis. And like a she-elephant following the leader of a herd, Krishna cheerfully followed that youth catching hold of his deer skin. Then when the assembled monarchs incapable of bearing that sight lose up in wrath and advanced for fight, there rose up another hero who tearing up a large tree rushed at that concourse of kings, felling them right and left like Yama himself smiting down creatures endued with life. Then, O monarch, the assembled kings stood motionless and looked at that couple of heroes, while they, resembling the sun and the moon, taking Krishna with them, left the amphitheater and went into the abode of a potter in the suburbs of the town, and there at the potter's abode sat a lady like unto a flame of fire who, I think, is their mother. And around her also sat three other foremost of men, each of whom was like unto fire. And the couple of heroes having approached her paid homage unto her feet, and they said unto Krishna also to do the same. And keeping Krishna with her, those foremost of men all went the round of eleemosynary visits. Some time after, when they returned, Krishna taking from them what they had obtained as alms, devoted a portion thereof to the gods, and gave another portion away, in gift, to Brahmanas. And of what remained after this, she gave a portion to that venerable lady, and distributed the rest amongst those five foremost of men. And she took a little for herself and ate it last of all. Then, O monarch, they all laid themselves down for sleep, Krishna lying along the line of their feet as their nether pillow. And the bed on which they lay was made of kusa grass, upon which was spread their deer skins. And before going to sleep they talked on diverse subjects in voices deep as of black clouds. The talk of those heroes indicated them to be neither Vaishyas nor Sudras, nor Brahmanas. Without doubt, O monarch, they are bulls amongst Kshatriyas, their discourse having been on military subjects. It seems, O father, that our hope hath been fructified, for we have heard that the sons of Kunti all escaped from the conflagration of the house of Lak, from the way in which the mark was shot down by that youth, and the strength with which the bow was strung by him, and the manner in which I have heard them talk with one another, proves conclusively, O monarch, that they are the sons of Parita, wandering in disguise. Hearing these words of his son, King Drupada became exceedingly glad. And he sent unto them his priest, directing him to ascertain who they were, and whether they were the sons of the illustrious Pandu. Thus directed, the king's priest went unto them, and applauding them all, delivered the king's message duly, saying, Ye who are worthy of preference in everything, the boon-giving king of the earth Drupada is desirous of ascertaining who ye are. Beholding this one who hath shot down the mark, his joy knoweth no bounds. Giving us all particulars of your family and tribe, place ye your feet on the heads of your foes and gladden the hearts of the king of Panchala mid his men and mine also. King Pandu was the dear friend of Drupada and was regarded by him as his counter-self. And Drupada had all along cherished the desire of bestowing this daughter of his upon Pandu as his daughter-in-law. Yea, heroes of features perfectly faultless, King Drupada hath all along cherished this desire in his heart, that Arjuna of strong and long arms might wed this daughter of his, according to the ordinance. If that hath become possible, nothing could be better, nothing more beneficial, nothing more conducive to fame and virtue, so far as Drupada is concerned. Having said this, the priest remained silent and humbly waited for an answer. Beholding him sitting thus, the king Yudhishthira commanded Bhima, who sat near, saying, "Let water to wash his feet with and the aragya be offered unto this Brahmana. He is King Drupada's priest and, therefore, worthy of great respect. We should worship him with more than ordinary reverence." Then, O monarch, Bhima did as directed. Accepting the worship thus offered unto him, the Brahmana with a joyous heart sat at his ease. Then Yudhishthira addressed him and said, "The king of the Panchalas hath, by fixing a special kind of dower, given away his daughter, according to the practice of his order and not freely. This hero hath, by satisfying that demand, won the princess. King Drupada, therefore, hath nothing now to say in regard to the race, tribe, family, and disposition of him who hath performed that feat. Indeed, all his queries have been answered by the stringing of the bow and the shooting down of the mark. It is by doing what he had directed that this illustrious hero hath brought away Krishna from among the assembled monarchs. In these circumstances, the king of the lunar race should not indulge in any regrets which can only make him unhappy without mending matters in the least. The desire that King Drupada hath all along cherished will be accomplished for his handsome princess, who beareth, I think, every auspicious mark. None that is weak in strength could string that bow, and none of mean birth and unaccomplished in arms could have shot down the mark. It behoveth not, therefore, the king of the Panchalas to grieve for his daughter today. Nor can anybody in the world undo that act of shooting down the mark. Therefore the king should not grieve for what must take its course." While Yudhishthira was saying all this, another messenger from the king of the Panchalas, coming thither in haste, said, "The nuptial feast is ready." Section Kluksalvi. Vaibhahika Parva continued. Vaisampayana continued, the messenger said, "King Drupada hath, in view of his daughter's nuptials, prepared a good feast for the bridegroom's party. Come ye thither after finishing your daily rites. Krishna's wedding will take place there. Delay ye not. These cars adorned with golden lotuses drawn by excellent horses are worthy of kings. Riding on them, come ye into the abode of the king of the Panchalas." Vaisampayana continued, then those bulls among the Kurus, dismissing the priest and causing Kunti and Krishna to ride together on one of those cars, themselves ascended those splendid vehicles and proceeded towards Drupada's place. Meanwhile, O Bharata, hearing from his priest the words that Yudhishthira had said, King Drupada, in order to ascertain the order to which those heroes belonged, kept ready a large collection of articles required by the ordinance for the wedding of each of the four orders. And he kept ready fruits, sanctified garlands, and coats of mail, and shields, and carpets, and kine, and seeds, and various other articles and implements of agriculture. And the king also collected, O monarch, every article appertaining to other arts, and various implements and apparatus of every kind of sport. And he also collected excellent coats of mail and shining shields, and swords and scimitars, of fine temper, and beautiful chariots and horses, and first-class bows and well-adorned arrows, and various kinds of missiles ornamented with gold. And he also kept ready darts and rockets and battle axes and various utensils of war. And there were in that collection beds and carpets and various fine things, and cloths of various sorts. When the party went to Drupada's abode, Kunti, taking with her the virtuous Krishna, entered the inner apartments of the king. The ladies of the king's household with joyous hearts worshipped the queen of the Kurus. Beholding, O monarch, those foremost of men, each possessing the sportive gait of the lion, with deer skins for their upper garments, eyes like unto those of mighty bulls, broad shoulders, and long hanging arms like unto the bodies of mighty snakes, the king, and the king's ministers, and the king's son, and the king's friends and attendants, all became exceedingly glad. Those heroes sat on excellent seats, furnished with footstools without any awkwardness and hesitation. And those foremost of men sat with perfect fearlessness on those costly seats, one after another according to the order of their ages. After those heroes were seated, well-dressed servants male and female, and skillful cooks brought excellent and costly viands worthy of kings on gold and silver plates. Then those foremost of men dined on those dishes and became well pleased. And after the dinner was over, those heroes among men, passing over all other articles, began to observe with interest the various utensils of war. Beholding this, Drupada's son and Drupada himself, along with all his chief ministers of state, understanding the sons of Kunti to be all of royal blood, became exceedingly glad. Section Klxlai. Vaivahika Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, then the illustrious king of Panchala, addressing Prince Yudhishthira in the form applicable to Brahmanas, cheerfully inquired of that illustrious son of Kunti, saying, are we to know you as Kshatriyas, or Brahmanas, or are we to know you as celestials who, disguising themselves as Brahmanas, are ranging the earth and come hither for the hand of Krishna? O tell us truly, for we have great doubts. Shall we not be glad when our doubts have been removed? O chastiser of enemies! Have the fates been propitious unto us? Tell us the truth willingly. Truth becometh monarchs better than sacrifices and dedications of tanks. Therefore, tell us not what is untrue. O thou of the beauty of a celestial, O chastiser of foes, hearing thy reply I shall make arrangements for my daughter's wedding according to the order to which yet belong. Hearing these words of Drupada, Yudhishthira answered, saying, be not cheerless, O king, let joy fill thy heart. The desire cherished by thee hath certainly been accomplished. We are Kshatriyas, O king, and sons of the illustrious Pandu. Know me to be the eldest of the sons of Kunti, and these to be Bhima and Arjuna. By these, O king, was thy daughter won amid the concourse of monarchs. The twins, Nakula and Sahadeva, and Kunti wait where Krishna is. O bull amongst men, let grief be driven from thy heart. For we are Kshatriyas. Thy daughter, O monarch, hath like a lotus been transferred only from one lake into another. O king, thou art our revered superior and chief refuge. I have told thee the whole truth. Vaisampayana continued, hearing those words, the king Drupada's eyes rolled in ecstasy. And filled with delight the king could not, for some moments, answer Yudhishthira. Checking his emotion with great effort, that chastiser of foes at last replied unto Yudhishthira in proper words. The virtuous monarch inquired how the Pandavas had escaped from the town of Varanavada. The son of Pandu told the monarch every particular in detail of their escape from the burning palace of Lak. Hearing everything that the son of Kunti said, King Drupada censured Dhritarashtra, that ruler of men. And the monarch gave every assurance unto Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti. And that foremost of eloquent men then and there vowed to restore Yudhishthira to his paternal throne. Then Kunti and Krishna and Bhima and Arjuna and the twins, commanded by the king, to reside there, treated by Yajanasena with due respect. Then King Drupada with his sons, assured by all that had happened, approaching Yudhishthira, said, O thou of mighty arms, let the Kuru prince Arjuna take with due rites, the hand of my daughter on this auspicious day, and let him, therefore, perform the usual initiatory rites of marriage. Vaisampayana continued, hearing these words of Drupada, the virtuous. King Yudhishthira replied, saying, O great king, I also shall have to marry. Hearing him, Drupada said, If it pleaseth thee, take thou the hand of my daughter thyself with due rites. Or, give Krishna in marriage unto whomsoever of thy brothers thou likest. Yudhishthira said, Thy daughter, O king, shall be the common wife of us all. Even thus it hath been ordered, O monarch, by our mother. I am unmarried still, and Bhima also is so amongst the sons of Pandu. This thy jewel of a daughter hath been won by Arjuna. This, O king, is the rule with us, to ever enjoy equally a jewel that we may obtain. O best of monarchs, that rule of conduct we cannot now abandon. Krishna, therefore, shall become the wedded wife of us all. Let her take our hands, one after another before the fire. Drupada answered, O scion of Kuru's race, it hath been directed that one man may have many wives. But it hath never been heard that one woman may have many husbands. O son of Kunti, as thou art pure and acquainted with the rules of morality, it behoveth thee not to commit an act that is sinful and opposed both to usage and the Vedas. Why, O prince, hath thy understanding become so? Yudhishthira said in reply, O monarch, morality is subtle. We do not know its course. Let us follow the way trodden by the illustrious ones of former ages. My tongue never uttered an untruth. My heart also never turneth to what is sinful. My mother commandeth so, and my heart also approveth of it. Therefore, O king, that is quite conformable to virtue. Act according to it, without any scruples. Entertain no fear, O king, about this matter. Drupada said, O son of Kunti thy mother, and my son Drishtadhyumna and thyself, settle amongst yourselves as to what should be done. Tell me the result of your deliberations and tomorrow I will do what is proper. Vaisampayana continued, after this, O Bharata, Yudhishthira, Kunti and Drishtadhyumna discoursed upon this matter. Just at that time, however, the island-born, Vyasa, O monarch, came there in course of his wanderings. Section 68. Vaibhahika Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, Then all the Pandavas and the illustrious king of the Panchalas and all others there present stood up and saluted with reverence the illustrious Rishi Krishna, Dwaipayana. The high-souled Rishi, saluting them in return and inquiring after their welfare, sat down on a carpet of gold, and commanded by Krishna, Dwaipayana, of immeasurable energy, those foremost of men all sat down on costly seats. A little after, O monarch, the son of Prihata in sweet accents asked the illustrious Rishi about the wedding of his daughter. And he said, How, O illustrious one, can one woman become the wife of many men without being defiled by sin? Oh, tell me truly all about this. Hearing these words, Vyasa replied, This practice, O king, being opposed to usage and the Vedas, hath become obsolete. I desire, however, to hear what the opinion of each of you is upon this matter. Hearing these words of the Rishi, Drupada spoke first, saying, the practice is sinful in my opinion, being opposed to both usage and the Vedas. O best of Brahmanas, nowhere have I seen many men having one wife. The illustrious ones also of former ages never had such a usage amongst them. The wise should never commit a sin. I, therefore, can never make up mind to act in this way. This practice always appeareth to me to be of doubtful morality. After Drupada had ceased, Drishtadhyumna spoke, saying, O bull amongst Brahmanas, O thou of ascetic wealth, how can, O Brahmana, the elder brother, if he is of a good disposition, approach the wife of his younger brother? The ways of morality are ever subtle, and, therefore, we know them not. We cannot, therefore, say what is conformable to morality and what not. We cannot do such a deed, therefore, with a safe conscience. Indeed, O Brahmana, I cannot say, let Draupadi become the common wife of 5 brothers. Yudhishthira then spoke, saying, my tongue never uttereth an untruth, and my heart never inclineth to what is sinful. When my heart approveth of it, it can never be sinful. I have heard in the Purana that a lady of name Jadala, the foremost of all virtuous women belonging to the race of Gautama, had married 7 rishis. So also an ascetic's daughter, born of a tree, had in former times united herself in marriage with 10 brothers, all bearing the same name of Prachetas, and who were all of souls exalted by asceticism. O foremost of all that are acquainted with the rules of morality, it is said that obedience to superior is ever meritorious. Amongst all superiors, it is well known that the mother is the foremost. Even she hath commanded us to enjoy Draupadi as we do anything obtained as alms. It is for this, O best of Brahmanas, that I regard the proposed act as virtuous. Kunti then said, the act is even so as the virtuous Yudhishthira hath said. I greatly fear, O Brahmana, lest my speech should become untrue. How shall I be saved from untruth? When they had all finished speaking, Vyasa said, O amiable one, how shall thou be saved from the consequence of untruth? Even this is eternal virtue. I will not, O king of the Panchalas, discourse on this before you all. But thou alone shalt listen to me when I disclose how this practice hath been established and why it is to be regarded as old and eternal. There is no doubt that what Yudhishthira hath said is quite conformable to virtue. Vaisampayana continued, then the illustrious Vyasa the master Dwapayana rose, and taking hold of Drupada's hand led him to a private apartment. The Pandavas and Kunti and Drishtadhyumna of Prishada's race sat there, waiting for the return of Vyasa and Drupada. Meanwhile, Dwapayana began his discourse with illustrious monarch for explaining how the practice of polyandry could not be regarded as sinful. Section Klux. Vaivahika Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, Vyasa continued, in days of yore, the celestials had once commenced a grand sacrifice in the forest of Nyamisha. At that sacrifice, O king, Yama, the son of Vivasvat, became the slayer of the devoted animals. Yama, thus employed in that sacrifice, did not, during that period, O king, kill a single human being. Death being suspended in the world, the number of human beings increased very greatly. Then Soma and Sakra and Varuna and Kavara, the Sathyas, the Rudras, the Vasus, the twin Aswins - these and other celestials went unto Prajapati, the creator of the universe. Struck with fear for the increase of the human population of the world, they addressed the master of creation and said, Alarmed, O Lord, At the increase of human beings on earth, we come to thee for relief. Indeed, we crave thy protection. Hearing those words, the grandsire said, Ye have little cause to be frightened at this increase of human beings. Yet all are immortal. It behoveth you not to take fright at human beings. The celestials replied, The mortals have all become immortal. There is no distinction now between us and them. Vexed at the disappearance of all distinction, we have come to thee in order that thou mayest distinguish us from them. The Creator then said, The son of Vivasvat is even now engaged in the grand sacrifice. It is for this that men are not dying. But when Yama's work in connection with the sacrifice terminates, men will again begin to die as before. Strengthened by your respective energies, Yama will, when that time comes, sweep away by thousands the inhabitants on earth who will scarcely have then any energy left in them. Vyasa continued, hearing these words of the firstborn deity, the celestials returned to the spot where the grand sacrifice was being performed. And the mighty one sitting by the side of the Bhagirathi saw a golden lotus being carried along by the current. And beholding that golden lotus, they wondered much. And amongst them, that foremost of celestials, viz., Indra, desirous of ascertaining whence it came, proceeded up along the course of the Bhagirathi. And reaching that spot whence the goddess Ganga issues perennially, Indra beheld a woman possessing the splendor of fire. The woman who had come there to take water was washing herself in the stream, weeping all the while. The tear drops she shed, falling on the stream, were being transformed into golden lotuses. The wielder of the thunderbolt, beholding that wonderful sight, approached the woman and asked her, Who art thou, amiable lady? Why dost thou weep? I desire to know the truth. Oh, tell me everything. Vyasa continued, the woman thereupon answered, O Sakra, thou mayest know who I am and why, unfortunate that I am, I weep, if only, O chief of the celestials, thou comest with me as I lead the way. Thou shalt then see what it is I weep for. Hearing these words of the lady, Indra followed her as she led the way. And soon he saw, not far off from where he was, a handsome youth with a young lady seated on a throne placed on one of the peaks of Himavat and playing at dice. Beholding that youth, the thief of the celestials said, Know, intelligent youth, that this universe is under my sway. Seeing, however, that the person addressed was so engrossed in dice that he took no notice of what he said, Indra was possessed by anger and repeated, I am the Lord of the universe. The youth, who was none else than the god Mahadeva, the god of the gods, seeing Indra filled with wrath, only smiled, having cast a glance at him. At that glance, however, the chief of the celestials was at once paralyzed and stood there like a stake. When the game at dice was over, Isana, addressing the weeping woman, said, Bring Sakra hither, for I shall soon so deal with him that pride may not again enter his heart. As soon as Sakra was touched by that woman, the chief of the celestials, with limbs paralyzed by that touch, fell down on the earth. The illustrious Isana of fierce energy then said unto him, Act not, O Sakra, ever again in this way. Remove this huge stone, for thy strength and energy are immeasurable, and enter the hole, it will disclose, where await some others possessing the splendor of the sun and who are all like unto thee. Indra, then, on removing that stone, beheld a cave in the breast of that king of mountains, within which were 4 others resembling himself. Beholding their plight, Sakra became seized with grief and exclaimed, Shall I be even like these? Then the god Girisha, looking full at Indra with expanded eyes, said in anger, O thou of 100 sacrifices, enter this cave without loss of time, for thou hast from folly insulted me. Thus addressed by the Lord Isana, the chief of the celestials, in consequence of that terrible imprecation, was deeply pained, and with limbs weakened by fear trembled like the wind-shaken leaf of a Himalayan fig, and cursed unexpectedly by the god owning a bull for his vehicle, Indra, with joined hands and shaking from head to foot, addressed that fierce god of multiform manifestations, saving, Thou art, O Bhava, the overlooker of the infinite universe. Hearing these words, the god of fiery energy smiled and said, Those that are of disposition like thine never obtain my grace. These others, within the cave, had at one time been like thee. Enter thou this cave, therefore, and lie there for some time. The fate of you all shall certainly be the same. All of you shall have to take your birth in the world of men, where, having achieved many difficult feats and slaying a large number of men, ye shall again by the merits of your respective deeds, regain the valued region of Indra. Ye shall accomplish all I have said and much more, besides, of other kinds of work. Then those Indras, of their shorn glory, said, We shall go from our celestial regions even unto the region of men, where salvation is ordained to be difficult of acquisition. But let the gods Dharma, Vayu, Magavat, and the twin Aswins beget us upon our would-be mother, fighting with men by means of both celestial and human weapons, we shall again come back into the region of Indra. Vyasa continued, hearing these words of the former Indras, the wielder of the thunderbolt once more addressed that foremost of gods, saying, Instead of going myself, I shall, with a portion of my energy, create from myself a person for the accomplishment of the task thou assignest. To form the fifth among these, Vishwabhuk, Buddhadaman, Sivi of great energy, Santi the fourth, and Tejasvin, these it is said were the 5 Indras of old. And the illustrious god of the formidable bow, from his kindness, granted unto the 5 Indras the desire they cherished. And he also appointed that woman of extraordinary beauty, who was none else than celestial Sri, goddess of grace, herself, to be their common wife in the world of men. Accompanied by all those Indras, the god Isana then went unto Narayana of immeasurable energy, the infinite, the immaterial, the uncreate, the old, the eternal, and the spirit of these universes without limits. Narayana approved of everything. Those Indras then were born in the world of men. And Hari, Narayana, took up 2 hairs from his body, one of which hairs was black and the other white. And those 2 hairs entered the wombs of 2 of the Yadu race, by name Devki and Rohini. And one of these hairs, viz., that which was white, became Valadeva. And the hair that was black was born as Kesava's self, Krishna. And those Indras of old who had been confined in the cave on the Himavat are none else than the sons of Pandu, endued with great energy. And Arjuna amongst the Pandavas, called also Savyasa, using both hands with equal dexterity, is a portion of Sakra. Vyasa continued, Thus, O king, they who have been born as the Pandavas are none else than those Indras of old. And the celestial Sri herself who had been appointed as their wife is the Sthrupadhi of extraordinary beauty. How could she whose effulgence is like that of the sun or the moon, whose fragrance spreads for 2 miles around, take her birth in any other than an extraordinary way, viz., from within the earth, by virtue of the sacrificial rites? Unto thee, O king, I cheerfully grant this. Other boon in the form of spiritual sight. Behold now the sons of Kunti, endued with their sacred and celestial bodies of old. Vaisampayana continued, saying this, that sacred Brahmana Vyasa of generous deeds, by means of his ascetic power, granted celestial sight unto the king. Thereupon the king beheld all the Pandavas endued with their former bodies. And the king saw them possessed of celestial bodies, with golden crowns and celestial garlands, and each resembling Indra himself, with complexions radiant as fire or the sun, and decked with every ornament, and handsome, and youthful, with broad chests and statures measuring about 5 cubits, endued with every accomplishment, and decked with celestial robes of great beauty and fragrant garlands of excellent making. The king beheld them as so many three-eyed gods, Mahadeva, or Vasus, or Rudras, or Adityas themselves. And observing the Pandavas in the forms of those Indras of old, and Arjuna also in the form of Indra sprung from Sakra himself, King Drupada was highly pleased. And the monarch wondered much on beholding that manifestation of celestial power under deep disguise. The king, looking at his daughter, that foremost of women endued with great beauty, like unto a celestial damsel, and possessed of the splendor of fire or the moon, regarded her as the worthy wife of those celestial beings, for her beauty, splendor and fame. And beholding that wonderful sight, the monarch touched the feet of Satyavati's son, exclaiming, O great Rishi, nothing is miraculous in thee. The Rishi then cheerfully continued, in a certain hermitage there was an illustrious Rishi's daughter, who, though handsome and chaste, obtained not a husband. The maiden gratified, by severe ascetic penances, the god Sankara, Mahadeva. The Lord Sankara, gratified at her penances, told her himself, Ask thou the boon thou desirest. Thus addressed, the maiden repeatedly said unto the boon-giving Supreme Lord, I desire to obtain a husband possessed of every accomplishment. Sankara, the chief of the gods, gratified with her, gave her the boon she asked, saying, Thou shalt have, amiable maiden, 5 husbands. The maiden, who had succeeded in gratifying the god, said again, O Sankara, I desire to have from thee only one husband possessed of every virtue. The god of gods, well pleased with her, spake again, saying, Thou hast, O maiden, addressed me 5 full times, repeating, Give me a husband. Therefore, O amiable one, it shall even be as thou hast asked. Blessed be thou. All this, however, will happen in a future life of thine. Vyasa continued, O Drupada, this thy daughter of celestial beauty is that maiden. Indeed, the faultless Krishna sprung from Prishada's race hath been preordained to become the common wife of 5 husbands. The celestial Sri, having undergone severe ascetic penances, hath, for the sake of the Pandavas, had her birth as thy daughter, in the course of thy grand sacrifice. That handsome goddess, waited upon by all the celestials, as a consequence of her own acts becomes the common wife of 5 husbands. It is for this that the self-create had created her. Having listened to all this, O King Drupada, do what thou desirest. Section CC. Vaivahika Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, Drupada, on hearing this, observed, O great Rishi, it was only when I had not heard this from thee that I had sought to act in the way I told thee of. Now, however, that I know all, I cannot be indifferent to what hath been ordained by the gods. Therefore do I resolve to accomplish what thou hast said. The knot of destiny cannot be untied. Nothing in this world is the result of our own acts. That which had been appointed by us in view of securing one only bridegroom hath now terminated in favor of many. As Krishna, in a former life, had repeatedly said, "Oh, give me a husband," the great God himself even gave her the boon she had asked. The God himself knows the right or wrong of this. As regards myself, when Sankara hath ordained so, right or wrong, no sin can attach to me. Let these with happy hearts take, as ordained, the hand of Krishna with the rites. Vaisampayana continued, then the illustrious Vyasa, addressing Yudhishthira the just, said, "This day is an auspicious day, O son of Pandu. This day the moon has entered the constellation called Pushya. Take thou the hand of Krishna today, thyself first before thy brothers." When Vyasa had said so, King Janasena and his son made preparations for the wedding. And the monarch kept ready various costly articles as marriage presents. Then he brought out his daughter Krishna, decked after a bath, with many jewels and pearls. Then there came to witness the wedding all the friends and relatives of the king, ministers of state, and many brahmanas and citizens. And they all took their seats according to their respective ranks, adorned with that concourse of principal men, with its yard decked with lotuses and lilies scattered thereupon, and beautified with lines of troops, King Drupada's palace, festooned around with diamonds and precious stones, looked like the firmament studded with brilliant stars. Then those princes of the Kuru line, endued with youth, and adorned with earrings, attired in costly robes and perfumed with sandal paste, bathed and performed the usual religious rites and, accompanied by their priest Dhaumaya who was possessed of the splendor of fire, entered the wedding hall one after another in due order, and with glad hearts, like mighty bulls entering a cow pen. Then Dhaumaya, well conversant with the Vedas, igniting the sacred fire, poured with dew mantras libations of clarified butter into that blazing element. And, calling Yudhishthira there, Dhaumaya, acquainted with mantras, united him with Krishna. Walking round the fire the bridegroom and the bride took each other's hand. After their union was complete, the priest Dhaumaya, taking leave of Yudhishthira, that ornament of battles, went out of the palace. Then those mighty car warriors those perpetuators of the Kuru line those princes attired in gorgeous dresses, took the hand of that best of women, day by day in succession, aided by that priest. O king! The celestial Rishi told me of a very wonderful and extraordinary thing in connection with these marriages, viz., that the illustrious princess of slender waist regained her virginity every day after a previous marriage. After the weddings were over, King Drupada gave unto those mighty car warriors diverse kinds of excellent wealth. And the king gave unto them 100 cars with golden standards, each drawn by 4 steeds with golden bridles. And he gave them 100 elephants all, possessing auspicious marks on their temples and faces and like unto 100 mountains with golden peaks. He also gave them 100 female servants all in the prime of youth and clad in costly robes and ornaments, and floral wreaths. And the illustrious monarch of the lunar race gave unto each of those princes of celestial beauty, making the sacred fire a witness of his gifts, much wealth, and many costly robes and ornaments of great splendor. The sons of Pandu endued with great strength, after their wedding were over, and after they had obtained Krishna like unto a second Sri along with great wealth, passed their days in joy and happiness, like so many Indras, in the capital of the king of the Panchalas. Section CCI. Vaibhahika Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, King Drupada, after his alliance with the Pandavas, had all his fears dispelled. Indeed, the monarch no longer stood in fear, even of the gods. The ladies of the illustrious Drupida's household approached Kunti and introduced themselves unto her, mentioning their respective names, and worshipped her feet with heads touching the ground. Krishna also, attired in red silk and her wrists still encircled with the auspicious thread, saluting her mother-in-law with reverence, stood contentedly before her with joined palms. Parita, out of affection, pronounced a blessing upon her daughter-in-law endued with great beauty, and every auspicious mark and possessed of a sweet disposition and good character, saying, Be thou unto thy husband as Sachi unto Indra, Svaha unto Vibhavasu, Rohini unto Soma, Damayanti unto Nala, Bhadra unto Vice Ravana, Arundhati unto Vasishtha, Lakshmi unto Narayana. O amiable one, be thou the mother of long-lived and heroic children, and possessed of everything that can make thee happy. Let luck and prosperity ever wait on thee. Wait thou ever on husbands engaged in the performance of grand sacrifices. Be thou devoted to thy husbands, and let thy days be ever passed in duly entertaining and reverencing guests and strangers arrived at thy abode, and the pious and the old, children and superiors. Be thou installed as the queen of the kingdom and the capital of Kurajangala, with thy husband Yudhishthira the just. O daughter, let the whole earth, conquered by the prowess of thy husbands endued with great strength, be given away by thee unto Brahmanas at horse sacrifice. O accomplished one! Whatever gems there are on earth possessed of superior virtues, obtain them, O lucky one, and be thou happy for a full 100 years. And, O daughter-in-law, as I rejoice today beholding thee attired in red silk, so shall I rejoice again, when, O accomplished one, I behold thee become the mother of a son. Vaisampayana continued, after the sons of Pandu had been married, Hari Krishna sent unto them, as presents, various gold ornaments set with pearls and black gems, lapis lazuli. And Madhav, Krishna, also sent unto them costly robes manufactured in various countries, and many beautiful and soft blankets and hides of great value, and many costly beds and carpets and vehicles. He also sent them vessels by hundreds, set with gems and diamonds. And Krishna also gave them female servants by thousands, brought from various countries, and endued with beauty, youth, and accomplishments and decked with every ornament. He also gave them many well-trained elephants brought from the country of Madra, and many excellent horses in costly harness, cars drawn by horses of excellent colors and large teeth. The slayer of Madhu, of immeasurable soul, also sent them coins of pure gold by crores upon crores in separate heaps. And Yudhishthira the just, desirous of gratifying Govinda, accepted all those presents with great joy.